But here's the word. Well, in fact, here's a poem about honesty. And it goes like this. When you get what you want and you struggle for self and the world makes you king for a day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father, your mother, your bro whose judgment upon you must pass. The fella whose verdict counts most in your life is the fella staying back from the glass. Some people call you a straight shooting chum and even call you a wonderful guy. But the man in the glass says you're only a bum if you can't look him smack in the eye. You may lead the whole world down the pathway of life and get pats on your back as you pass. But your final reward will be heartache and tears if you cheated the man in the glass.
Wow.
Hey.
We are live. What is good? What is good?
We didn't do the harmonies this time.
We didn't do the harmonies because
we want to get straight to the
we want to
point.
get straight to the point. We're joined by the masterful, the wonderful, the talented Inga, the winger. Welcome to the On the Radar podcast, the On the Radar show. It is awesome to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Chizo. Tane. Chizo Tane.
Chizo is
And
the
Nod's
name
the man.
that I
Nod's
have
the
been.
man.
I've been blessed. I've been
Yes.
blessed with the name Chizo.
Chizo.
Oh,
by
chiz
Mr.
down,
Buying
aren't you?
over.
Under that shirt.
I try my best, you know. This guy's been taking me to the gym. So
Every time you watch a video now, it's Nods and Chizo.
Yeah,
It's
Nod's and
Nods and
Chizo.
Chizo. Chizo and Nods.
It's pretty catchy.
oh
isn't it?
no!
is that?
How come you get your real name? That's where do you get your nickname? Where do you get your nickname? Anyway, so we're joined here. You're our first professional guest. That's what I'd like to hear.
Thank
I
you
was
so much.
I was getting sick of just talking to him. I wanted to talk to someone else.
That's what my wife said.
I wanted some more opinions, and now I'm gonna get it. So we're pretty much like a sports podcast. So with your vast history and in the sporting world, we'd like to have a little chat with you.
Mate, you can ask me about anything and everything. I've
That's
got
what we
nothing
like
to
to
hide.
hear.
Nothing to hide, but everything to do.
So why don't you tell us maybe a little bit about yourself, like where you're from and how you kind of got started out.
Okay, I was born in this beautiful little island in the Pacific called Samoa.
Woo.
Samoa.
It's the second best island.
The greatest island.
I can say it's the greatest island because
He's actually been there.
See? I live there.
You don't even know what it looks like.
But
That's
then
the
again,
greatest
Chizo
island.
and Nods will go against what I just said.
The greatest island, according to my family.
Your mother's Samoan too, eh? There you go.
Oh, yeah. So what? Born in Samoa. How long did you live there for?
I was there until about 3, and then I came over here to New Zealand with my
New
parents. I was one of 4 young ones. I was born into a small family of 15. And
Surely.
back in those days, the New Zealand immigration laws can only allow 4. And
Nice.
I was
Did you
one
come
of
over one by one? Or
Well, if you say one by one,
The 4x4.
yeah, we were the 4. I was one of 4 young ones.
Yeah.
So we came here in New Zealand with my parents, and we went straight to Invercargill,
Oh, really?
out of all
Yeah,
places.
in Chicago.
who chooses Invercargill?
Yeah.
Well, my parents only had the jobs that was going at the time, and my dad got a job for Transrail in New Zealand, building railway tracks up and down the South Island.
Okay.
So back those days, if you just get a job, it doesn't matter what it is. It was just job was a job to get you out of the islands
Fair enough.
and give you an opportunity to come to the land of the long white cloud, as they say, the land of milk and honey
Nice.
Yes.
and opportunities. And we came over here in the 70s, early 70s.
So how old were you when you first
I
came?
was 3.
3. Okay. So you don't remember too much from Samoa when you were born?
No, I do remember the cyclone back then.
Oh.
Oh.
When I was very, very young. But then over the years, Samoa has had a lot of cyclones. In
Yeah.
92, the big cyclone, Alpha, Trina. So there's lots of cyclones that's been going in
Yeah.
and out of Samoa back in those days. I came over here, and over the years, Mum and Dad worked so hard to make enough money to bring the rest over
Yeah.
over to New Zealand over the years.
Amazing. I mean, that was sort of the case for lots of Polynesian families during that time. It was just. Do you think it was like a mad rush to get to New Zealand?
It was just an opportunity that New Zealand had opened their doors.
Yeah.
And back then there was a lot of opportunities for what they call the whiteware, working, building, washing machines, ovens and all that, everything to do with whiteware.
Yep.
in New Zealand. So that presented a great opportunity for our people to come over here, and also labouring jobs as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So the fact that our people toil the land and work the land in Samoa or in the Pacific Islands, and they were able to have those same skills when they came over here to do labouring.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we could be all proud that our Pacific Island people have contributed to New Zealand and where it is today.
That's what
Yeah.
great PR.
Great PR.
That's great PR. So
Great
we're-
advertisement for the land of Samoa.
Great.
For the Samoan people.
No.
We got all the skills.
Do
Yeah.
you know who did the
Foundation
real
of
work?
country.
Who did the real work in New Zealand? It was the Tongans.
No.
It was the Tongans. They obviously came in
They got rid of all the horses.
because they rode them. Nah. So where'd you go to school?
I went to school in Invercargill, a small little place down there, a little school. And then over the years, went to school in Dunedin.
Yeah.
And then finally came up to Auckland, went out here in West Auckland, went to Calston Primary School, Calston
Oh.
Intermediate, and Calston Boys High School.
Oh, Kelly Block represent. That's what we like to hear.
Out on the west side.
Nice. So did you start playing rugby at?
I played rugby back down in Invercargill
Oh,
and Dunedin, and then established myself here in West Auckland. There was a club called Ponsonby Calston,
yeah.
and Calston was another feeder club to the great Ponsonby club, and so I've just been with that club ever since I played rugby and stayed.
Yeah, well, I remember Ponsonby Calston because I used to play for Ponsonby, and then there was always a year where they would join Ponsonby
Yes.
Calston, and it'd just be like a bunch of white kids, and then all the brown kids just joining in to
Make
one,
friends, eh?
one super team, and
Yeah.
they just actually it'd be like they had your your Ponsonby team, your main Ponsonby, and they'd pick and choose the best ones
Yes.
from the Calston team, and then they'd come over and make a super team, and then there'd be like a B team.
Well, Chizo, when I was playing back in our days, we used to revere the Ponsonby town team. You know?
Oh, really?
Yes, because we were Ponsonby Calston
Yeah.
out in West Auckland. And so we used to revere them, and we used to think, oh man, they were always better than us. So
Yeah.
every time we had the opportunity to play against our city team, we would go all out to try and beat them, because that was it always ended up at the end of the year. It was either Ponsonby City that will win it,
Yeah.
and we become runners up, or Ponsonby Calston will win it. As
That's why
the city
Ponsonby's
runs
just the greatest club in the world, isn't it?
up. Oh, of course. So, I don't know
My
about
uncle's
Nods.
He does.
I don't know about Nods because he's from Australia.
My uncle played for Ponsonby.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only thing. I've only went to watch like one of his games when I was younger.
And what's his name?
His name's Billy
Billy
Kamisi.
Kamisi.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Do you know?
I heard of him.
Yeah.
What have
But
you
I was
heard of
older.
him?
He's
He
older.
was
He's
trash,
older than
wasn't
me.
he?
Yeah. Don't you think I look young?
Yeah, 21. So did you move? So you moved up from the South Island, like
close that
around the
door.
primary school ages?
Yeah. I moved around a lot of these primary schools. As you remember, you go from 1, from 2, from 3, from 4 before you go to intermediate school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I moved around quite a lot of primary schools in my days.
Was there a massive like culture shift? Or was it real different from Auckland? Like
Oh,
Invercargill?
definitely. Because back down in the South Island, I just mainly grew up with white boys.
Oh yeah.
You know, and white boys and girls at primary school. It wasn't until I came up to Auckland then I was able to see a little bit more of our Pacific Island kids. But even back then, there was still few and far between. You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it tough just being brown growing up in?
I don't think it was tough, but it was challenging.
Yeah.
It's totally different things. It was a lot of challenges. Not only the language barrier,
Yeah.
you know, but also the cultural barrier, you know, and also the climate. And the climate was very different to what I was used to.
Yeah, it's
So-
bit nippy in New Zealand, isn't it?
Well, the further south, like Invercargill was just cold, man. I mean, it was my first taste of snow. I thought it was ice cream.
We're eating the yellow snow.
Yeah. And then you come up to Auckland, and you go out to Otara, out south, and you go out to the markets, and you just all of a sudden you've got this huge family.
Yeah.
And that was awesome, you know, just be able to go through the markets and eat anything that you want to eat, you know.
Yeah.
But it all depends. My parents couldn't afford much back then, so it was normally just.
Well, I just know the Polynesians and Pacific Islanders today love to talk about how challenging life is for them, and like I feel like compared, it's not as challenging as maybe someone who came here a while ago, like how my dad had it or my granddad had it, kind of stuff like that. But like we're the ones that love to bring it up and talk about it.
We're just talking about your granddad and just the influence he had, and he was such a quiet man and very reserved. But boy, he has so many contacts. With especially when you talk about Ponsonby days, back in the 70s and the 80s, that when we congregated and you talk about some of the greats that knew your dad. Like Keith Nelson, the ex-captain of the All Blacks back then. Sir Brian Williams. Another great All Black Samoan that was very close to your dad as well.
Yeah, I saw Keith yesterday.
Yes.
And I was talking to him and he was telling me a story about my granddad, and it was because at school at Grammar, I think they went to Grammar together, and it was the 1956 or something like that. It was in their first 15 season. They played their first game against St. Peter's, and it was a really close game. They were supposed to win, and Granddad scored in the last second there, and they won the game. And afterwards, they went to the locker room, and they came out, and there were some St. Peter's boys there, and they tried to jump Granddad, and Granddad knocked them all out and got suspended for the whole year.
Well, that's right. Because your grandfather wasn't only a great rugby player, but he was also a great boxer.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
He had a huge influence both on those two sports, not just here in New Zealand, but also in Tonga. So you got a lot of big shoes to fill in.
The more important country.
I would say, to be honest, Chizo, I think the reality is the current players today, they've got a lot more challenges that they face than what we had. You see,
really?
Yeah, we had challenges, but there were few and far between.
Okay.
We had all those, the typical ones: the language barrier, the culture, the climate, and then learning how to play rugby, or sports. But for the current youth today, they've got so much more, because I think there's so much more emphasis on trying to be successful in whatever you do, whether it's sports or whether it's business or studies. There's so much more pressure on you to perform and to be successful. And I do feel sorry, because I got my own children, and I see that with my own kids as well. And sometimes I've got to be careful as a father that I don't put too much pressure on them, what I call unnecessary pressure. But at the same time, your generation has to learn to survive out there. Yeah. And the best way to, they say experience is the best way to learn. And the definition of experience is that it gives you the test first and then the lessons later.
Yeah, okay. That's what we like to hear.
So
great advice.
Okay, that's some great advice. Go PR. Go PR. When did you start playing rugby?
I was young. I was about five or six when I started playing my first game back down in South Island.
When did you realize you were good? When you're 5?
When you're running when I moved to New Zealand? 3?
To be quite honest, I started realizing that I actually was good at it when I was about 15, and they started selecting me because all of a sudden we have these zone competitions.
Like Roller
Mills, Walter Dixon, and all of a sudden I was picked, and it was hard to play because it was on Sunday games. My mum wouldn't allow me to play on Sundays, but it put a little bit more pressure for me to turn up to these other trials during the week and really have to stand out. Yeah. And fortunately for me, I did. But that's when I remember, 14, 15, I thought, I'm actually quite good at it. I'm being selected for these representative teams. Auckland under 14s, under 15s, under 16s, under 17s. Yeah. And then I thought, okay, well, might as well give it a go. But back in my days, it was all about love. There was no money in it because it was amateur. Yeah. And that's why it comes back to what I said. The challenges are more for the young today, because everything's pressure, about success and pressure. Yeah, well, it is. You guys are put in the compressor pot, and you got to survive.
Yeah, like I overheard you saying how like kids get contracts like 15, 16. Like you just like realize you're good at footy at like 15, 16, but like there's some kids out there at 15, 16 that like now they got the weight of their whole family.
Well, if you think about it, like Jason Tamalolo got signed at 12. 12, 13. Can you imagine that kind of pressure? And also that must go to your head as a 12-year-old.
I mean, I feel like that's more of who you are and your upbringing.
True, but I mean, I guess if I packed a cool card in a little card sleeve, I'm walking around school praising it as a 12-year-old, can't imagine getting a rugby league contract and
Well, that's the thing, and I think that's one of the challenges that the governing body has to look at. Is it good to offer contracts at such a young age?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you still want them to be kids. As a child, you want them to still have fun. I remember when I became an All Black, I was 19 years of age when they selected me, which was still relatively young.
It's really
That's
young.
very young.
That's very young.
I'm 19. Burden Barrett, move over. I'm coming in.
And all of a sudden, your world changes. All of a sudden, people might start recognizing you.
Yeah.
And you do get a big head because they know who I am.
Yeah.
But then you have to grow up. 1 minute I'm watching the All Blacks and all these heroes. I'm like, oh yeah. Next minute you're playing alongside them.
Yeah.
You think, oh, okay. So all of a sudden the media and the spotlight's on you. So that's a big challenge for these young kids today. So I know what it's like to be put under the pressure. But at the same time, it is if you're going back to it, Nods, depending on how you're brought up. And if you're brought up really well, and you've got beautiful parents that love you and show you, certain stages of your life, you learn to behave a certain way and take responsibility. Man, it's just, you just blossom as a young man, and you can. I think one of the other things that I noticed that when I was playing, we had to work at the same time. So I was always conversing with people, and you learn to talk to people. Well, I do feel sorry for some of these young ones that come straight out of school, straight into contracts, and then they be put into this little bubble.
Yeah, they don't experience the world outside of professional sport or professional, or having to be a certain way.
Because the hard reality, Chizo and Nods, is that when you finish, when it's all over,
it's over.
It's over. And you're back to normal.
And also, it's a short career. It's short.
It can be.
Yeah.
Through injuries.
Yeah.
You might take a different path. You might get involved in a relationship, like Nods is.
Hey,
you want to get involved? Hey, these are real life issues. Hey,
yeah, fair enough.
Don't be. Have you got a girlfriend?
I'm single.
Oh, boyfriend?
Single. Single.
Taken.
Just one boy. Just one boy.
Single boy. Oh no! I mean, was there ever a moment where you realized that I'm the best winger in the world, or I'm the best player? Where you realized like I deserve to be here because
I think you measure yourself against the opposition, and I always made it a habit to eye my position, even when you're getting under the tunnel and you're standing alongside, ready to run out, and you're like this, you're looking at him, you're looking up, up and down. Who?
Well, I guess, but back then they didn't have like advanced stats. You didn't have all that kind of stuff, so it's not like you knew exactly who you're coming against until you saw them.
But mentally, Chizo, if I can get one up on the guy, just looking at him like. You got him, mate.
Yeah.
If you both looking at each other and he looks away first, then you've won that. You're like, and he looks like,
yes.
It's like
mind game.
That's right. It's like that stare down, when they face off in the boxes, when they have the weigh in and they
touch
face
gloves,
off.
and all that kind of
no
stuff.
one wants to back off, and they're just still staring. Well, that's what it was like when I was growing up. Thankfully for me, I was bigger than most wingers, so I could actually steer them down. Right?
Except for Jonah, right?
Except for Jonah. When Jonah came along, I ran off.
I'm gonna go play for Samoa now.
Go play overseas.
I mean, what was your relationship with Jonah?
It wasn't a very long relationship because we crossed paths.
Yeah,
I was on my way out, and I had signed a rugby league contract to turn professional. And Wigan in England.
Rugby league.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
Saw the lights, isn't
it?
Yeah. I mean, not.
Yeah. Your wise in your older years.
And then Jonah came through, but I've been minding Jonah for a long time, ever since he was going through the grades, the schools and that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't whether he was going to be a superstar. It was just a matter of when he was going to become a superstar. So, and I think when I look back, I can feel proud that along the way we've all worn that number 11 jersey. Yeah. The people like the great Sir Brian Williams, the Grant Baddies, the Bernie Frasers, Stu Wilson's, myself, Jonah Lomu.
That 11 jersey is a
was that
story.
Joe jersey? Or was he
I think it was 14. Oh no, he's 11.
No, he's 11.
He's 11, yeah. Doug Howell was 14,
Doug Howell was 14.
But now and again, he would swap around and play.
Yeah. That 11 jersey.
That 11 jersey is, yeah.
That number 11 was does that number mean a lot to you?
Yeah, because I think I played wing all majority of my career. And
Yeah.
I was back in, and they called me. That's how Inga the Winger came out.
Yeah.
Carlson boys, and they used to put a corner flag, and then used to name it Inga the Winger's corner. And so that was my left corner flag, and I had a habit of just scoring on the left side.
Yeah.
So that's where Inga the Winger came from. It wasn't invented by the All Blacks or by New Zealand Rugby Union.
It was your mates in Calster?
It was my mates from Calster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What skills did you need? What skills did they try and teach you or prepare you for to play wing? Especially at the pinnacle for Mana Samoa.
I think you got that one right. I think the winger is a specialized position, so speed counts for a lot. If you got good speed, good natural speed, which I had, I wasn't trained up as a. I didn't go to athletics when I was young because my mum couldn't afford to pay for those subs. Yep. So how I used to learn how I used to improve my speed was 4 times a week, twice a week. My uncle would take me into the cemetery in Waikimedi, and he would,
really?
Yeah, he wait till the sun goes down and he'd take me to the darkest side of the cemetery and made me run all the way to the front gate.
I guess that's your track then.
Yeah,
that's your Waikimedi track.
That's where I sidestepped all the headstones. Yeah, jumped over them, hurdled them, and I tell you, I got to the front of the gate of the cemetery very, very quickly.
It's a world record, isn't it? A world record.
It's amazing what.
So every time you got the ball on the left edge, you're just thinking about the headstones.
It's the ghost behind you.
But I suppose being a specialized position, there's a lot more skill that is required. But I think your main target and your main focus to finish off whatever move that's been caught inside. You got to finish it off, and the best way of finishing it off is scoring the try, and the shortest way to the try line is straight ahead. Mm-hmm. Forget about the swerve and the shimmy and the swerve here. Yeah, just go straight through down the middle. Hey.
Well, do you think you and people like Jonah were the start of the big winger?
Yeah, some people said I was at the very beginning of it all, but I think people like Sir Brian Williams, he might not have been tall, but he was stocky. Yeah. And the size of his legs back then when he was in his prime. Even John Curran, John Curran was 6'2", 6'3", and he was big, even though he's Caucasian, but he was. Did you like being very diplomatic? Yeah, he was Caucasian.
He's got different genes.
We're going into political.
His ancestry is different.
He was off brown.
Pacific Island in here.
But they were the big wingers, and then I came along, and I was certainly one of the heaviest wingers. As I was playing around about 112, 114 kilos, and that's pretty heavy
pace
on the wing.
Yeah, I mean, did you guys do stuff like body fat percentage and stuff like that back then?
Not. It was only when I went to rugby league and played professional rugby league there that all these testings I had to do weights. I didn't even know what a deadlift was,
That's also.
I don't know what a deadlift is.
Do you think so? You got to the All Blacks on pure, unadulterated talent.
I think in my era, I think talent spoke a lot about my own achievements. I got there purely on natural talent. Yeah, and obviously good guidance and great coaches. But a lot of it was my natural ability just to play the game. Yep. I mean, I didn't do a lot in terms of being really specific on my job. I just got the ball and ran through twice. What I'm talking about is if you're different when you're inside sense of standoff. Yeah. Where you gotta mix and mingle. You gotta integrate with your forwards, your loose forwards, and that. So whereas my job was just to get the ball and run. Run, Forrest Gump.
Talking about coaching, do you think how important is coaching? I know a lot of people just over here don't think that coaching really benefits players or benefits a team.
I think it benefits, but sometimes when I see I think the All Blacks are a great team, and the players are there. Sometimes I just think you could put any coach in and the All Blacks are still the All Blacks.
Well, you're correct there, Chizo, in one way, because by the time you get up to the All Black, that's the pinnacle.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, they already knew all their basics. They know everything that is required. A coach has come along, and then he coaches them. And they said that he's got the best job and the easiest job. again, that's true to a certain job. But then if the coach is really good, then it becomes harder for him to choose the best out of the very best. There's a saying, they're coaches and then they're coaches. And I think a great example of that is boxing with Mike Tyson and Gus D'Amato.
Yeah.
His coach. Anyone could have come and coached Tyson, but it was Gus D'Amato that came along and just really honed his rebelliousness.
He tamed Mike.
Yeah, he tamed him, mate. And I was watching it today, and he was talking about it in prison. And Mike Tyson said this Gus D'Amato came and spoke to him and said to him, you're gonna be a world champion one day. You're a good man. Because all he had heard most of his life was negative. You're a criminal. You're useless. You're this and that. But this man took it on himself to saw something in Mike Tyson's eyes to say to him, hey, you know what? You're gonna be a world champion one day. You're gonna be something special.
Well, it's crazy because you see him now, and he's the nicest.
Yes.
It's like that side of him is there.
Yes.
The one that was, I don't know, like non-existent, or people couldn't see in him, but I feel like he knew he had it inside.
Yes.
And it's out now.
He just needed someone to kind of unlock that, like bring that out of him.
And that's why coaches are so important. Coaches, they say you can be a great boxer, but it's the coach that makes you.
Fair enough. No, yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah.
So
I was always one, like I always thought like coaching was like you couldn't put anyone on an All Blacks team. Like I felt like you had to have the right person with the right like scheme and the right like coaching tactics. Like being able to distinguish like how players are, and then like if you need like to put your arm around someone, you do, or if you need to like motivate someone like negatively, then you do. Like someone like a coach would like that's how they're important, sort of thing.
Well, here's an important thing. I think you're going to learn what I'm going to say. In England, they call them managers. They don't call them in the English Premiership football. They don't call them coaches. They call them managers. Alex Ferguson, manager of Man United.
Yeah.
So they call them manager for why? For what reason? Because they're able to manage the players. And and players today.
That's actually smart though, because like in my head, when like the word coach is like teach.
Yes.
And All Blacks, they don't need teaching anymore. They need managing.
Yes.
It's sort of like you're managing the talent that you have. You're not teaching the talent that you have.
Wise word from Chizzo.
Wise word from Chizzo.
Hey?
I just finished reading Alex Ferguson's book as well.
So you should know.
This girl came into work yesterday, and she was a family friend of Alex Ferguson. I was just asking every question under the sun. So,
How's
what pubs in Aberdeen did you go to? So, did you go to any games?
What's his address? So, when you first made the All Blacks, what was the reaction of the people around you? Did it change? Was it like?
Was the fight love is more?
Well, really, when it was announced, I was at home. We'd gone to church. It was a Sunday afternoon. They'd announced that there would be Sunday afternoon about 2:00. So we went to church with my family. And came home, had our tonai, our lunch, family lunch, and then we all sat around the TV to listen to the announcement of the 1989, way back in 1989, the All Blacks touring squad to Europe. And they went through the forwards, and they went through the backs, and then all of a sudden my name was popped out, and I remember the whole family just jumped up in joy and just and I was crying. Everyone was crying because the significance of that was more than just being selected. It was showing New Zealand had finally chosen a Pacific Island with a full Pacific Island name. You see, you had I'm proud to say these names. You had the greats who were Samoan.
Michael Jones,
Brian Williams, Ola Brown, Frank Bunce, Stephen Bashop, Andrew Blowers, Ronnie Clark, Graham Bashop. The list just goes on. There's so many Samoans with English names.
Yeah.
But in 1989, when they read my name out, it was Inga Tungamala.
Oh.
And it was a point of history. And I look back and say, wow, it was a changing of guard. It was a turning of a new page. New Zealand had now embraced our Pacific Islands full-blooded Pacific Islanders.
Yeah.
And that was way back when I got selected as a young 19-year-old. And I remember the party was going on in our home. We were celebrating, and I slowly slipped away and came to the cemetery and came to where my dad's grave was in what community, and I just said, "Thank you, Dad. You know, for bringing us over here." I had no idea that one day I'll represent New Zealand. But that was, to me, in my family, with my family, I was able to cherish a moment of history. Now we've got so many island boys with their island names, and they're very proud, whether it be Fijian, Tongan, Samoan, Raro, Māori. You know, it's just so nice to have all these Pacific Island names being read out.
Yeah, I guess that's true now. Like, if you were the first to.
Yeah, when I think about all like the greats, like especially like they're all English names for me. Like, well, my dad used to love like Frank Bunce, Michael Jones, Orly Clark, and it's English names there. I didn't really realize. Yeah, you were the first person.
So you learn something.
Every day we learn.
He's just got to learn the language next day.
We'll get there.
Do you have maybe your favorite moment as an All Black, whether it's on the field or off the field?
I got two favorite moments on the field. The first one was 1992, when the All Blacks went to South Africa, and it was the first time an official sporting international body was allowed back into South Africa because of the apartheid.
Yeah.
And we knew it was a controversial tour.
Yeah.
So when we got wind over there, we went there with a lot of our Polynesians, Michael Jones, Oliver Brown, Ronnie Clark, myself, you know, that was part of that All Black team that was allowed back into South Africa. And I remember very clearly we were about to run out, and we're all so proud that here we are playing against the Springboks. And I remember singing the national anthem. I couldn't hear it, and doing the haka for the first time, and I had to look around to make sure I was in line with everyone else because the noise was just incredible, you know.
Wow.
And then I get to meet Nelson Mandela.
Oh,
Hey?
imagine that.
Yeah.
Our team had
Boy
an
from
audience.
Samoa.
Yes, our team had an audience with Nelson Mandela. Hey? So that was a proud moment for all of us.
Because
Not
that was
only-
also a massive moment for South Africa as a country.
Oh
as
yes,
well.
yes.
Yeah.
Because I rewind it back 11 years earlier in 1981, the All Blacks, the South African Springboks came to New Zealand, and it was caused so much rift amongst our people here because of the anti-apartheid. And I remember as a young 10-year-old, I was on my uncle's shoulders going down to Sandringham for the third test at Eden Park, and we got caught up with the protests, and the police was just pushing, shoving everybody out, and we were going. And the only reason why I was keen to go because I wanted to go and see the first black South African rugby player.
Yeah.
And his name was Errol Tobias, playing on the wing. And remember, I'm only 10 years of age here. And then I wanted to see this first black rugby player from South Africa named Errol Tobias. But that day, when the protest was, that day we finally got into the ground. And I remember under the rugby post, behind the rugby post, we were all there. And I remember I went to watch that black guy, but it was the number 13 for South Africa that caught my eyes. And his name was Danny Gerber, the big Springbok centre.
Yeah.
And he was huge, his legs, his whole frame, and he could run. And he caught my eye as a 10-year-old. Now, fast forward back in 1992, 11 years later, I ended up playing the very guy that I was admiring way back then as a 10-year-old. You know, Danny Gerber. They brought him for that 92 test match in Johannesburg, and he was marking Frank Bunce. Yeah.
Did you hit him?
I couldn't get near him. You know? But for me, what an opportunity to play against my hero, eh? Because he was the one that stood out back in 1981, and here we are in 1992. They brought him back to play.
Wow. So that is a moment that really stands out for you.
That was a
as an All
moment.
Black.
And the other one was 1993. Samoa played the All Blacks in Eden Park, and first time in history. And I was so scared. I've never been so scared playing against. Well, I'm going up against my own country, you know. And
just go.
Yeah. and that was a proud moment because we got told that we were going to do the haka first, and then Manu Samoa going to do theirs. But no, as soon as we called our Manu Samoa called theirs. And if you watch the video on YouTube, we all started
Close.
together. We all finished together, and I was crying because we weren't expecting that. Hey,
Yeah.
for them to challenge us straight away. So
Did you forget which one you wanted to do? Did you start doing the?
all I remember was I got knocked out.
What was the final score of that game?
Oh, we just won because it was a tight game. I think we just ran away with it in the last 10 minutes, but
Like
physically,
842
it was-
A close game, 84-0.
but physically, it was one of our best games and one of the hardest games we've ever played. We were battered in our changing room.
Yeah.
We were absolutely beaten up physically. By the
I mean,
Samoans.
that's like the strength of those the Pacific Island teams. Though what they lack in like talent, they make up for in heart.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And you know
That's
you're going to
crazy.
get hit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not matter whether you're going to get hit. It's
Yeah,
just
when.
yeah, whether you've got the ball or not, it's coming.
If a ball's like up your head, you don't catch it. I'm not opening my chest right now. What was it that? When was the moment that you decided I'm gonna play for Manu Samoa?
1996, and
Glorious
it
moment.
was towards November, and I was actually playing rugby league at that time. But Samoa
Oh, really?
was touring. They were touring, and
Did they give
they
it to you?
had some
Oh,
injuries.
do you want to play?
That's exactly what happened.
Hang on.
Yeah, they said, "Oh, Inga, we've got some injuries, and we're down on numbers. Are you able to help us?" And I remember driving all the way from London, all the way up to Wigan. It was about 3.5 hours, and the next day I went to see the club to see if they would release me just for that one test match against Ireland.
Yeah.
And and believe it or not, the British Rugby League executive said, "Yes, you can. We can release you to play, but you just got to look after your contract, cover your insurance and medicals and all that." So I paid for that, and then I was free, and I went down and I met the Mansam. What an experience!
Yeah.
Only a couple of years of playing against them earlier, and now I'm playing with them, and that was such an awesome. We actually beat Ireland in Ireland that night. We won.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
We won 40 points to 25.
We need that team back. you folks want to come back and play?
Yeah.
What was the big differences between playing for New Zealand and then like playing?
I think for the All Blacks is always going to be my team. The All Blacks. I'm a very proud ex-All Black. I'm very honoured and privileged to have played with them and some of the greatest players ever to play the game.
Yeah.
Our era was an incredible era. Yes, we didn't make a lot of money, but we played with our hearts on our sleeves and we gave it everything for our country. And so the All Blacks will always be my number one team. Mm-hmm. But this Samoa was totally different. It was almost a family. It was all about a family affair because you're related. Somewhere along the line, you're all related.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you dig deep enough. Yeah. And so, but that team instilled a culture that I was actually losing out on.
Yeah.
Because my parents were they wanted us to try and embrace the New Zealand culture and embrace the language and everything. So we didn't have a lot of time to experience our own culture at home. So playing for Samoa brought those memories and reignited the desire to want to learn more Samoa, learn about our Wha Samoa and our culture and our traditions.
What was your family's reaction to like you telling them that you're gonna play for Manu Samoa? Because I know you see videos of Andrew Fafita and people like that when they tell their family they're gonna play for Tonga, Matama Tonga and stuff like that, and they're crying. Yes. It's so unexpected for them because it's sort of giving up. It's like giving up the All Blacks, or Kangaroos to go play for your home.
Yeah, my parents, my family cried. They would say, "Well, you're so blessed to be able to give something back while you still playing for your playing rugby." So I've had, to be honest, I've been spoiled, Chizzo, and Nods. I've been spoiled. I've had the best of both worlds, both as a professional, as an amateur. I've made my fame. I made my name. I've gained so much out of the game. The game has been good to me. I like to think that I've been able to been good ambassador for the game itself as well. It's taught me some wonderful lessons. Yeah, and it's got me to travel the world, do things that normal Polynesian kids wouldn't have done. Yeah, met some incredible people along the way, like we was talking about the great Nelson Mandela, the Queen Elizabeth how many times.
Oh, shucks.
No, I'm not name dropping, but
I'm not name dropping,
but
Michael
these are the
Jackson,
privileges. Yeah, but these are the privileges when you're playing for
Trump.
such a. These are privileges when you're playing for such a awesome team as the All Blacks, and I didn't realize when I left the All Blacks just how big a profile the All Blacks is.
like, is it like an an old boy All Black cult somewhere? Do you guys all meet up for like?
We do have lots of meetings. There's a lot of dinners. There are a lot of functions we get invited to. But I hardly go because I'm all the way out in Samoa. Yeah. But every time there's test matches here, the invites always goes to the ex All Blacks to come for dinner. Yeah. So they always put something on for us. Yeah.
I've got a bit of a proposition that I think Noz might be able to help with.
Yeah.
If you could put maybe like 15 of the best players from 1990s to the best 15 players now, who would win?
Well, time has it that the current 15 players should be able to beat the previous 15. Saying that though, given their eras, the difference of eras, that's why it's very hard to compare.
True.
Given their skill level, their fitness and strength level, because the game has evolved incredibly forward. I would still say that the previous players will still give them a good run for their money. The game back then isn't as complex as it is today. Today you need a whole manual and a dictionary and a magnifying glass to really read and understand all the rules. Also have changed to make the game faster. You see, so if you have to put your money, the current players should, and because they've got more time to train, more time to rest.
And the training, I guess, is more focused. Yes. Like you said, you deadlifted once you got to England, and I guess now
14-year-olds are just doing like 80 kg bicep curls.
Oh, no. It's just, And they look at me and they go, "Waste the money."
How do you think you would have fared if you
played it right?
If you were my
if you were to go up against Rico Ioane right now and Seven Reese,
I will back myself because I actually knew how I was back then and how strong I was when I went to rugby league. That enhanced my physicality as well, and my fitness levels. Because when I went to rugby league, it was, I was like a little
game of all that.
I was a little muscle monkey, just ready to beat everybody on the field, run all over. Because all of a sudden, and that's what confidence and that's what fitness does to you. It builds natural confidence. Mm-hmm. That all of a sudden, hey, I'm really strong here. I'm really fit. I can take the world on. So and that's the advantage that the current players have that we didn't have. We still had to get up and go do a 9-to-5 job. Then after that, catch the bus and still go to training.
Gosh.
So
do you envy the boys? Like you see, like Aaron Cruden's earning $3 million overseas now, and
no, I don't think you would. No, because I was voted the world's most expensive player back then. Mm-hmm. I still to this day I still have the world's most expensive transfer, which is £1.7 million back then, and it's still the biggest transfer today. But it was relevant back those days. You see, the money that you earned back those was relevant for those days.
True.
And if 3 million a season here is still relevant to
So yeah. But then like obviously now the sponsorship money and like the game receives like the prices, the more people get into
it's global.
Of course they're gonna make much more money.
Back those days, Nods and we had to go and hold the aerial, the video to make sure it was a clear picture.
Someone could have watched the game. They had to stand outside.
You guys are just on front. Yep, yeah, it's on. Yeah. See, technology has advanced the game. Mm-hmm. And it advanced the way the game has been marketed out in the world as well. Everything's instant on your phone now.
I mean, if you had to, so if I'm like a little Pacific Island kid growing up in New Zealand right now, what advice would you give me if I was just like, I want to play rugby league,
and you're talented,
and yes,
and you are exceptionally talented. Yes.
It's very simple. I think the Pacific Islanders has a real massive advantage of their physicality at such a young age, but where they become where it becomes challenging for them is when they're 17, 18, 19 years of age, where there's a lot more distraction. Girls get involved, other sports get involved, other interests pops in. And so to be able to still stay focused as a rugby player is a lot more challenging for you guys. And the key, if you want to make it, is just that word focus. You know what they say, success is hocus pocus unless you're focused.
Bars
Great
as well.
PR.
Musician as well.
Yeah.
You heard it here
So
first,
it's
kids.
just focus, and it's not focus on the big things. It's the little attention to detail.
Yeah.
You know, it's the small things that you do well that gets you to the bigger things.
Yeah.
You know?
The extra set.
It's that. And I see more now the challenge for our Pacific Islanders is the mental ability to prepare yourself well. You know, talent will get you there, but you know, character will keep you there. You know, and it's like you say, it's doing the extras.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've got a, you know, I've got a good saying about 10 things that you don't require talent, and that is attitude, turning up on time, being motivated, being kind, you know, being inspiring, being humble, you know, all these little things. They don't need you don't need talent.
Yeah,
it just comes down to your attitude.
Wow. I
Just
mean,
like you two.
fair enough. That's great. Yeah, I mean, that saying's never more true. Like, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah. And the other thing is just being honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think honesty, as they say, the Balangi always say, honesty is the best policy. You know,
Sometimes.
and-
None of your mums angry.
but here's the word. Well, in fact, here's a poem about honesty. And it goes like this: when you get what you want and you struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father, your mother, your bro whose judgment upon you must pass. The fella whose verdict casts most in your life is the fella staying back from the glass. Some people call you a straight shooting chum and even call you a wonderful guy. But the man in the glass says you're only a bum if you can't look him smack in the eye. You may lead the whole world down the pathway of life and get pats on your back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you cheated the man in the glass.
Wow.
Hey.
That's a poem right there. That's a poem right there. I mean,
I'm going home tonight and look at myself in the mirror.
You can go there and do one Mr. T. What are you looking at?
You go to the mirror. Oh.
and the mirror breaks. Oh no. I think I've got some. I mean, it's been a good chat. I've got some maybe a bit more light-hearted questions. Who's the hardest? Well, what's the hardest? Who's the person who's hit you the hardest?
Michael Jones.
Oh, what's that like?
I can't remember.
Oh my god, that bad?
Yeah, that bad.
Oh my god.
Michael Jones or Richie McCaw?
Michael Jones.
Okay, fair enough. I mean,
Yeah, I would take. Yeah, fair enough.
yeah,
Different eras.
I've also never
Yeah.
seen Michael Jones play.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, true.
Oh.
Who was the worst person to room with, or like the worst person to like the most annoying person to be around?
A guy by the name of Richard Lowe.
Richard Lowe. If you're
Richard
watching
Lowe,
this,
if you're watching this?
Richard Lowe.
look in the
You already
glass.
know Richard
he,
Lowe.
he can snore.
Oh.
He's a big prop from Waikato. One big tough mama, and he just snores. He keeps me up all night.
Well, Richard
Oh.
Snow, look yourself in the glass. So, look yourself
It's a
in-
compliment, by the way, Richard.
Promise, it's a compliment. I promise you. Well, is he one of those ones where like he snores, but you can't wake him up because he's a scary
Yeah.
dude.
Well, he is. You know, he was one of our big enforcers in the All Blacks.
Yeah.
And so when there was ever trouble around, he would come along and fix it with Steve McDowell.
Yeah.
Those big front row boys.
Is Brian Lima as scary on the field as he looks?
Yep.
I've seen some of his hits.
Yeah,
He-
oh, yeah.
Looks like he removes rib cages with
Yep.
some of his tackles.
Yeah, he's crazy. In fact, I've only seen him get hurt once, and he knocked his own self out. Yeah, it was.
He
one of
tackle
the
a tree or something.
No, it was against one of the South African super teams, and he went full out to knock him out, and he ended up knocking. Both of them got knocked out. But that's just commitment, you know. And,
Yeah.
and he's feared all over the world, and they don't call him chiropractor for nothing.
That is very
Who do you
true.
think are the greatest Samoan players to ever play for Mono Samoa or the All Blacks?
Well, you've had some great ones, and I think Frank Bunce certainly.
Yeah.
As an All Black centre as well, Mono Samoa we started. There's also the Stephen Basham, Pat Lam. Not many people know that he played for the All Blacks as well as the Mono Samoa.
That Lamb family is
That
just
Lamb family,
insane.
yeah.
Just keep producing stars. Stop
That's
it.
right.
They breed rugby superstars.
That's
It's not
true.
even rugby. They've got netball players. They're all over the show. It's crazy.
What was your favorite foods to get from Otara markets?
Buggy Popo.
Are you a fan of Whapapa?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
True.
man. My grandma
The
buys
coconut ones with
Yeah.
the what do you call them?
the little
Bengals. We call them Bengals inside.
I don't know what they're called, but it's
Samoan, bro,
I'll
what?
eat them. I'll eat them.
my grandma always buys those, and like I'd wake up in the morning before school, and there'd be like cocoa and Whapapa.
Yeah.
Going to school happy, yeah.
Best restaurant in Samoa.
Scalini's, owned by Joe Lamb.
Another land.
They make their cousins.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, it's Joe Lamb.
Which Tuilangi brother are you the most scared of?
All of them.
Fair
They're all
enough.
scared. I played alongside Freddie Tuilangi,
Yeah.
the eldest one, and then I played with Alasana,
Mhm.
the big winger.
Yeah.
And so he was coming in when I was going out, and I was
Yeah.
glad of that. And then you got, then obviously I remember Manu when he was only a young kid, so seeing him doing well for England. But boy, Henry, the scariest out of all of them.
Henry is
Yeah.
terrifying.
He's Hulk. He's
Yeah.
the Samoan version of Hulk.
It's like he's the Samoan version of Hulk, but like Manu's like also a Hulk.
No, they're just all.
He's like a smaller version of the Hulk, and
Yeah, I
then Alessandra's a smaller version of another Hulk.
Yeah, and then
They're just big.
Alexander's just Hulk with braids.
I know.
My
they're
first
just
game watching
scary.
Alessandro Tuilangi, he just like got the ball, just like mad face, like just running knees up. I was like, whoever's standing in front of you right now, God bless your soul.
Well, there's a fine line between bravery and stupidity, eh?
Hmm. Sometimes
The
just
smallest part, you
pretending
gotta
to
go
make
for
the
that-
tackle
yeah.
was
I just go for the ankles. That's the smallest part. Yeah.
Or just run off.
go and fall.
Run off the field.
Simbin yourself.
Sub.
Are there anyone? Was there anyone that was
Pause now.
hungry?
Yeah. Six
Um,
of them.
Was there anyone that, I don't know, growing up you were like, he's definitely gonna make it, but didn't for like unforeseen reasons?
I had a lot of friends, a lot of Polynesian friends, Tongan, Samoans, Fijians, who were talented than I was, much better than me, who were stronger, bigger, faster than me. And I think it comes back to what I was saying earlier. The difference between me and them was that I was just focused. I had such a burning desire just to be the best I can be on that field. Unfortunately, some of these friends of mine, and they went off the track,
Yep.
and they got involved in things that they shouldn't have been. But in terms of their rugby talent, you couldn't fault them. They were just a class act.
That still happens now
Yes,
a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think is like if you saw someone or if you know someone that was going off, off the track, what's the best way to bring them back?
Well, I think a lot of it, what our friends can do is just be that supporting arm to a lot of these guys. I know for me, it was my family members that reached out and and just encouraged me, and my uncles, my mum's brothers that really helped me stay focused. Because I could have just been like any of them, just gone off the rocks, off the rails, and just got involved in alcohol, drugs, and just being a nuisance. Again, it comes back to how much you love your sport and love what you're doing. And I think coming back to that whole caring side of things, that old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So people are not going to listen to you until they see you make an effort to approach them. And it could be just a simple thing, going up to nods. Hey, bro, everything all right? Is anything, can I help you?
Mm-hmm.
Those little things do make a big difference, Or, hey, nods, cut it out, mate. Stop.
I've tried.
Have you
I mean,
tried?
he
Not,
just
don't hang around with those things, mate. Don't do that stuff, mate.
stop
we
listening to
laugh
that music
about it,
nonsense.
but those things can make a big difference. Eh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not your fault, is it?
So like when you're playing, and then like obviously after, like did you pick up any other hobbies or interests when you're away from the game?
Yeah, I picked up golf as another sport that I wanted to do because we had so much downtime. So I was bored sitting at home, and then some of the boys decided, "Oh, we'll go and play this game." I said, "What is it?" Golf. I said, "You gotta be stupid.
You want to hit a ball with a stick?
Yeah, hit a ball with a stick and it's standing there, and you keep missing it." Right? Mind you, I got hooked on it, and away I went, and it was just a good way of just taking your mind away from rugby too.
Yeah,
because you could.
I guess it's the polar opposite of rugby.
Yeah,
it's like calm. Still, you're by yourself. Like, or not by yourself, but like it's just you that can control the outcome. And then you go to like rugby, where like it's a fast impact team sport.
Well, it is, and it comes back to that word honesty. It's a great game of honesty because when you're playing, you can easily cheat. Like the ball goes behind the tree, and then you grab a club that you made up called foot wedge, and you just bring it around.
Call me Tiger. I swung it around 3 trees, and
I just put the little curve on it.
But you can get frustrated as well because you see these little white boys, man. They just send over a ball and they can whack it. You think, how can they whack it so far? And here's you muscle monkey going up for the ball, and you keep missing it. Eh? No, so there's a skill involved in it, but that's what also helps me take on my focus away from rugby. Because otherwise, if you just live, eat, sleep rugby, then it becomes really boring.
Yeah,
and it does affect your home life.
Yeah.
So I've got 4 children and a wife, and they get bored sometimes when I come home and talk about rugby. Dad, can you talk about something else?
Fine, golf.
Yeah. Fine, I'll talk about rugby league.
You're switched on, no?
Yeah, because I was reading Alex Ferguson's book, as I was saying, and like his life was like so consumed by football that he needed like avenues to like let out the stress and stuff. So he like collected art and like books and like was breeding horses and stuff. Yeah.
When I was playing for Wigan, we used to always have this interchange with Man United. So Alex Ferguson's team, we were able to they do cross training in the summer. So they come and do some rugby league training. We go and do some football training, and we were useless because the footballers are so much fitter than the rugby league because they just run all day.
Run all day.
They're not big, but they just run. We couldn't keep up with them. So we used to go up there and hang out with people like David Beckham, Ryan Giggs, Scholes, Eric Cantona, the French captain that played for them. And back in those days, and they will come and watch our game, and we will go and watch their game on our off days. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, he's a
Gary Neville, Phil
Gary Neville, Phil.
If you're all watching right now, Sam, Dennis Owen,
come on the podcast. Come
Peter
down to New
Schmeichel, you can all come and sit with us at Inga and talk about your cross training with Wigan, and then give me a contract up front.
Promise.
No, I mean, Eric Cantona, from what I found out, he was living in our village just down the road from us in Wigan, and the place, he was just an absolute Man United legend. And we used to go and watch. Honestly, we used to go and watch the Man United, and it was just a totally different atmosphere. The soccer fans,
insane,
unbelievable. And we just watch these guys, these superheroes. The David Beckham running down the sideline. You think, wow,
he's so jealous.
So one day we'll get there. Right?
If I could see Giggsy right now, 50-year-old Giggsy, I would be
unbelievable.
I'd be happy. Oh, the left foot, insane.
I mean, what was their star power over there? And what was the reaction to a Polynesian? Because I feel like they wouldn't have ever interacted with Polynesians.
I don't think they knew many Polynesians back then. Nowadays, it's a lot different now. The game rugby is a lot more exposed.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more on the media. So they're able to see the Polynesian rugby players that's having a huge influence in British rugby.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I went to Newcastle, the Newcastle rugby, the Newcastle footballers, there was players like Alan Shearer. When I just signed up for Newcastle
All-time great.
Falcons, then Alan Shearer had just signed up for Newcastle. There was Les Ferdinand, Bobby Robson, the coach. These guys were, as a young kid growing up in New Zealand, on Sunday morning television in New Zealand, we used to turn on and watch the English Premiership.
Yeah.
These are the guys you just watch from a distance. Think,
Yeah.
wow.
You almost feel like you'd never ever get to see them.
And yet they turn up and watch our rugby game, and they come and support us, and I think, wow.
That's crazy. Yeah, because I guess New Zealand, because I went to America late last year, and I went to an NBA game, and I was like, I never thought I would ever see any of you in my entire life, but here I am. Because New Zealand feels so far away from everything. I see the All Blacks, and I'm like, oh, I've seen Joe Fogo at a mall once.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
I haven't seen LeBron James in a mall. I mean,
There's a big difference between LeBron James and Joe Fogo.
No, in America, sports is so big, and they worship their sporting heroes over there.
Did you ever get enticed to play American football? Or
I did way back in 1992. I was given the opportunity to consider switching to American football with the white and blue team.
Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys, that's the one.
You could have been playing with Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin.
Those guys were just so far ahead. I think they were ahead of me anyway. They were ahead of my time.
They would still be talking about you on ESPN right now.
all you have to do is, Inga, get the ball, run.
No, they wouldn't. I don't think they classed me as a running back.
Oh, really?
A running receiver. I think the position they had considered was for me to play fullback.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So which is
you're like
straight down the middle.
Do exactly what you do on the wing.
When you see people like, back in those days, in my time, there was people like the San Francisco 49ers legend,
Montana?
Jesse Sao Paulo, the Samoan, one of our first one.
I know there's Junior.
The Tongan native Sikaema, one of the very first NFL Tongan Sikaema.
It's those Tonga. They're all ones from Utah. They go through.
Yeah,
and they get
and there's
around.
Junior Seau.
Yeah, Junior.
And then
For the Chargers?
just recently Troy Polamalu.
Now best safeties ever.
Yeah. So he's watching all our Polynesians do well in the NFL. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But I remember I was invited to speak at the All Samoan Sports Awards in America in California, and I was invited, and my host was Jesse Sao Paulo, and he was this big line defense, massive Samoan guy, and he took me to play golf, and we went to play golf, and we jumped in the golf cart, and it was like this. It was 400 pounds.
Oh my gosh!
Samoan beef, and I was this little boy pea, on the edge of the cart, just like looking down on him because he was so big. He was wide. Flipping, those guys are big.
They're different over there. I mean, the training that they put them through. They're another sport that they're specialized training from a super young age.
Yes.
They identify at like 10, 11 what position you want to play or looking like you might be, and they train you at that.
I remember in 2003, I had the privilege to go out with David Tua to the States in New York, and we went through. We stayed in Florida in Fort Lauderdale, and then we were able to go and head backstage to all the trainings of the Buccaneers. And boy, I remember they were screening young. They were screening young Black Americans for specialized positions for running receivers. And I remember they were just measuring up the length of their calf, the width of their.
It's crazy what they do.
And the sports science, the sports science. What are you doing? Because they were able to determine how fast he can run, what distance he can carry.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about what they were doing then, if you think of the stuff they do now, they're taking blood tests to see what position you can play.
Yes.
There's
see
like
how
some
many
high school kids that are just like jacked.
Yeah.
They're just like from like 14, they get like all like their BMI stuff done, everything done, and then the coaches is like, just do these.
Yeah.
It's amazing that through all the science, sports medicine, and sports science, they can do everything. They can measure everything, but there's one instrument they cannot create, And that is an instrument to measure your heart.
Oh,
you got that.
I got that
Close.
wrong.
Close.
And that as well.
And that.
You know, and that as well. But you know, there's
True.
nothing to measure a man's heart, how strong they would dig, you know? So maybe something for you two to invent. Hey,
If you need a
it's
new
just-
heart, we gotta hear. Let's see
How hard can you run into this wall? That's how tough you are.
we should get this car in front of you. Just try and tackle your best.
True.
See,
Technique.
depending on how late you dive away, that's how tough you are. Oh no, it's been a good chat. We've been chatting for ages now. It's been good. I really
Awesome.
appreciate you coming
Really
through.
appreciate it.
Someone of your stature, your nature, you know, the things you've done for the sport, for Pacific Islanders. Appreciate it always, you know. People, you know, coming up behind you, you know, are blessed to have done it before them, you know. It's amazing.
It makes it easier, you know. Yeah, like you break through, and then it makes it easier for everyone else to come. Like right now, like as Pacific Island kids, like everything is kind of most of stuff I reckon is handed to us.
Hand it to all.
I mean, we do,
we
like,
don't have to fight as
yeah.
much as
I mean,
much
it's still
as,
like
you know,
hard, like you like some like you live like it's still got kind of hard.
struggle and
Yeah,
stuff.
but I think it's way easier
Yeah.
now than it would have been back.
And that's
the
all
80s.
because of, you know, people like you.
It's so nice to hear you young men talk like that, because you appreciate where you come from, and acknowledging those who've gone before you. But I tell you, you know, I'm no different. I was sitting in the same chair you guys were a few years back, and thinking, you know, the people that have gone before me, what they've done to make my path a bit easier.
Yep.
And I think, you know, if there's any challenge for our young Pacific Islanders, there's that, you know, always give yourself a chance.
Yep.
Always give yourself a chance. Always believe in yourself. And I was brought up in rugby. There's two words that really resonates with me, and that's the word team pride. Playing for the All Blacks really taught me the importance of teamwork. TEAM, together everyone achieves more. And that word pride, PRIDE, personal responsibility in delivering excellence. So if you marry those two up, you can't go wrong and you cannot fail. One is a collective thing, team, and the other one is a personal thing, because no one can drive you like yourself. No one knows you better than you know yourself. And so I think those are the two words that I like to leave with your listeners, and with you, Chizo, and Odds for allowing me to come on board, and really just, you know, the privilege of coming on your show.
Very
and,
nice.
One of the very few. What do you got there?
We got
We got
Inga
Inga,
the
the
winger.
winger, number 11.
we're just gonna hold this for the rest of the video. We got a great team at the back, working hard. Thanks, guys.
We're clearly the best back three in the world.
There you go.
Here at ESPN.
We might be able to raffle that off and make some money for the Chizos and
You're gonna have to sign it
Odds
now.
show. Right?
We're just gonna raffle this off so we can get Giggsy in.
Do you still have his number? It's just
It's Giggsy's number as well.
No, but hey, thank you for having me on the show.
No
Chizo,
worries.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure. It's our honor.
It's been awesome,
Pleasure.
and if anything, we could just, like they say, is iron sharpened iron. We can sharpen each other, encourage one another. And remember, tune in, Chizo and Odds.
Let's go. Thank you very much.